And just to show you that guns on campuses at every level is very real, we actually have a personal group member that's going to share an account of her family's experience with gun control on campus.
Okay, is anyone from the Phoenix area? What part? Are you guys around Glendale, Peoria? You're around Deer Valley, I know. Well, have any of you heard of Pioneer Elementary School or Sean Botkins? You have? Okay, how do you know about him?
I just heard Pioneer. I think my little nephew went there or something.
Okay, well, when I was in 6th grade, I didn't go to Pioneer. I was at a different elementary school, but Pioneer feeds into my high school. When I was in 6th grade, my teacher came up to me while we were out at recess and let me know that my mom was in some sort of trouble and my dad was here to pick up myself and my 2 younger brothers. When I got home, I found out that my mom's school that she worked at was taken hostage by Sean Botkins, an 8th grader who was upset with the school or his teacher. He had taken his classroom early on in the morning hostage with a gun. He had each of the students line up against the wall with facing the wall, execution style, on their knees, and he played sort of a Russian roulette kind of game with them. He took his gun and to each of the back of their heads, you know, who's gonna die, who's gonna live kind of thing. The reason it affected myself and my family was not only because of my mom being there at the school, but because my mom's closest friend was the coach at the school who put himself in danger to go into that room that was taken hostage and actually talk down Sean Botkins. Apparently they had had a bond or something, but SWAT had filled the school. They were on the rooftops. My mom said it was one of the most terrifying days of her life. She worked in the ED department. It was the last main building before the portables, which is where the classroom was, that was taken hostage. And her buildings, schools are different. Her building they had 2 big doors on each end, and you'd walk through and it was a hallway with other doors of classrooms. Well, during lockdown procedures, those 2 big doors on each side are supposed to be locked down. My mom's building didn't lock down. Her and another aide had to go and take gauze out of the first aid boxes, and they wound the doors shut to where they were locked in, and SWAT had a hard time cutting through. But it was just altogether not a good situation. Granted, it ended not as tragic as all the other ones, but Pioneer feeds into my high school. I probably knew some of the kids that were in that classroom. And just the other month, my friend who actually went to Pioneer, she emailed me and said that she was in Subway getting lunch and Sean Botkins had been there. Apparently he was out doing his own thing. The gun he had was registered. It was one of his guardians. He was just unhappy, and it makes me nervous and shaky to hear that Sean Botkins is out and around, but it's something my community we all had to deal with, so it can affect any one of us.
Could you imagine if another child had a gun that day? Obviously they were much younger, but the concept's still the same. Wouldn't it have been more likely that someone died, given that they had a gun? Are college students responsible enough to even carry guns? A majority still think no. A large portion of college students indulge in substances that impair their judgment, suffer from stress, lack of sleep. Adding guns into that mix would most definitely be deadly. The majority of the public still thinks that allowing guns on campus would be a mistake, but there are still some common arguments that are made. First, that less people would have died in the past school shootings if other students were armed. This is not true. It's purely an opinion based on bias. You have to be well trained to even be able to shoot a gun. Therefore, students without proper training trying to handle a gun could end in a fatality. Police say that defensive gun use is rare and risky, and the widespread carrying of weapons is just an open invitation to gun violence. Also, if everyone has guns, when the police show up, it becomes difficult to sort out who shot who, for what reason. Stories wouldn't match up. Who's the bad guy? Another common argument is that gun control on campuses is an infringement on our Second Amendment rights. I don't know about you, but I don't feel too much resentment about neither I nor any other college student being able to bring a gun on campus. I'm more opposed to dorm room searches, noise ordinances, and red tags. Having a gun on campus would be irresponsible and unnecessary. It's more likely that an accident or misunderstanding would turn fatal than a student successfully taking down a school shooter. Possibly one of the strongest arguments the anti-gun control groups have is that campus would be safer if students were armed. This simply is not true. To be honest, it's a fallacy, cause and effect. There's no proof that the campus would be safer place if students were armed. This argument is weak and tries to solve a huge nationwide problem with a one-dimensional solution: guns. Anti-gun control groups are trying to convince the public that more guns would solve our safety issue. I find that ironic. More guns will make us safer? I don't know how they convinced anyone of that. More guns only promise more accidents. It's far more likely that guns will be used more often during times of anger and impairment and stress than when a campus shooter is running loose. Safety on a campus is a complex issue and deserves more analysis for a proper solution than just saying more guns will solve all of our problems. Another point is what would happen to the college environment. Imagine walking around the mall or sitting in class and seeing someone with a gun strapped to their side. Would you be able to brush that off and pay attention in class? I know I couldn't. And anyone who says it wouldn't affect them at all is lying. Even if guns don't scare you, you're still aware of a gun in the room. It becomes the primary focus. It takes away from education, and you're more focused on your safety and your imminent threat. I know I would be caught up thinking, instead of paying attention in class, about why that person needs a gun. What are the intentions of having that gun? Do they feel safer with that gun? The safe environment we all take for granted would be gone. Anyone could have a gun, someone with good intentions and someone with bad intentions. How could we distinguish between those people? We couldn't. There are other ways to prevent school shootings. Look at Virginia Tech. They still don't allow guns on their campus, even after all the events, even after the horrible events that took place. That has to mean something. Stricter gun ownership laws with extensive background checks and training should be strengthened. Virginia Tech offers mental health treatment now to their students. This proves that other solutions, aside from what anti-gun control groups may have you believe. The majority opinion is still that it would be irresponsible and unnecessary to bring guns onto a safe environment. We cannot predict or prevent everything. Tragic events happen. These events cannot be solved with more violence. How could we expect campus shootings to be solved by more guns? School shootings cannot be undermined by any means, but the tragedies of school shootings should not endanger the rest of students on campuses nationwide. Bottom line, guns still really scare a lot of people, and for a good reason. Your primary focus at college should be education and not having to worry about your safety on a day-to-day basis. I couldn't help but be threatened and worrying during a class where a classmate had a gun. And I think that goes for a lot of us here. However, the rumor that more guns offer a safer environment got started, I don't know. But it's never been proven that guns on campus is a safer environment. I guess what it comes down to is really your safety. How do you perceive your safety? Do more guns make you feel safe? If your answer is no, then you're still with the majority in thinking campuses should be a gun-free zone.